as long as they do all tours well, I'm happy. What I don't like is tours done badly. You know, it's like if you say you're going to do it, you do it. That's why I run the. Can you hear me, bro?
I hear you, bro.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
That's an amazing set you have upgraded to there.
This is the Whaleys, bro. This is the set of the Whaleys.
Oh yeah. I kind of feel like my bedroom isn't good enough for this podcast anymore.
Looks pretty good, right?
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Exactly. That's the whole concept, bro. Look amazing.
Looks like the is there a late night set or something?
Yeah, it's Jimmy Fallon's.
Jimmy Fallon's,
yeah. Yeah. Mate, mate, you gotta, what do they say? You gotta make it till you fake it, or fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, I think it's, yeah.
I was using the wrong mic. Hang on, let me just cue this up.
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Forecast Kitesurfing pod with me, Michael, and of course, Adrian Kerr, the podcast master in terms of kitesurfing. How are you doing, Adrian?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
I don't know about the podcast master. I you know, that classic thing, don't read the comments. I mean, I try and stay off that stuff now, so I don't know what people are calling me.
But is it still warm outside?
I'm warm inside. I was just thinking
inside,
I was just thinking maybe I should just turn on the ceiling fan a bit and see how the sound sounds, because I'm actually starting to get sweaty already. Let me see how that goes.
Yeah. Try it.
You know, Michael, I'm looking forward to these podcasts when we're starting doing them in the winter months, because man, I'm literally I'm sweating my ass off.
Yeah, I need to buy some better lighting, because I have an ordinary light here. I need to buy some better lighting when it comes to the winter time, because then it will be really dark here in Sweden. So
yeah, true. Yeah.
But you, I mean, looking at your background, you have come up a bit.
This is actually the background. This is actually the background to the Whaleys. This will be where the Whaleys will be set at the end of the year. Colin, Carol, and I have been working a lot on that, and just working out the sort of how we're going to film it. That's going to be the key. How it's going to be filmed. There is some potential that, you know, maybe he can stop in Dubai and we can film side by side and do a live version of it. Not live, but recorded. So otherwise, it'll be filmed on Zoom like this or something. So I don't know. We're working on that.
Looking forward to the Whaleys, of course. I've seen the development. It's interesting to see where you're going.
I'm going to actually next week. I'm going to post some pictures of the statue of the prize for the top prizes. I'm going to post those pictures, so that should be pretty cool to see that next week. And I think it's slowly we'll start building up a bit more momentum towards that. We've got a trailer that's going to come out, which will give a little bit more, be a little bit more glam and bring a bit more glam to the event, rather than just. I think. Probably people are still not sure if Colin and I are going to pull this off to the serious note, but I assure you this will be serious. This will be serious.
I'm confident you will. I've seen you in action. I'm confident you will.
I'm confident we can do it too. I mean, there's still a little bit of pressure on us to turn out a product that is worthy of kite surfing. You know, that's really what we want to do. You know, we want to have some fun, but we want to make it worthy of people's attention, and I think that's important.
I see that you've been very busy with your. A lot of podcasts.
Yeah. I've got like another big one coming out tomorrow. I've got Nick Jacobson on tomorrow, so that should be cool to hear from what's happening with the cold Hawaii games. But mate, that videos of influence that just turned out to be a lot of work, a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were just going to get some votes in, but mate, it was organizing people, and then I chose like 6 or 7 people to play their things at the end. So. Yeah, it was a lot of work, man.
I've been actually quite busy myself as well, doing some team talks with the Kite Games, also trying to set some end dates and do some instructional video on how to send stuff in. So I've been doing trying to be a lot at the beach, enjoying the Swedish summer, but also trying to be doing some stuff with the computer.
That's the problem. That's the problem, Michael. I tell you now, man. Once you start creating more content, it actually gets in the way of your writing, and you'll probably find that as the Kite Games get bigger, as Team Talks get bigger, as this gets bigger, you'll find that you'll be like in here editing and doing stuff, and everyone else will be out riding, and you got to find that balance. But by the way, how did the team talk go with the UK Groms? Because they're a bunch of little crazy boys, right?
They're amazing. I just love them, and it's so. I mean, I'm actually starting to edit that one now. I just finished and published a team talk with 2 ladies from an Estonian team called Surftown. Also really good. And but yeah, the talk with the Groms they were really good. Also, we actually found a sponsor for the Kite Games.
Nice, great, fantastic.
I will. I will announce it shortly, so I can tell you that it's actually from doing what we talked about last time, contacting the Surfer app. And they are just starting to produce their mounts now. So we will have some giveaways from the Surfer app to give to
That's
winners.
really good.
It's amazing. I think, just having something, because the people, looking at what they deliver in the Kite Games, the teams, they're really trying every single trick, and they're pushing themselves. So it will be fun to be able to give something to them, for sure.
Yeah, those mermaids. The mermaids are they're going for it too, right? Trying stuff and posting stuff all the time. So it's cool to see that they're going for it. And I know the UK Groms. Actually, when I think about it, what was the name of the no work team? I tell you, they got their work cut out for them. They're going to have to start pushing. Otherwise, I feel like sending. What's the guy's? Is it the guy who came on? Mattis?
Mattis. Yeah, Mattis.
I feel like sending him a message on Instagram saying, "Hey, you better watch out. These little ones they're not stopping."
No, the Groms are actually quite far in the lead right now, and they're in the advanced section together with the no work team. The mermaids are leading the enthusiast level, so the cat race. So they're pushing it. Of course, if you don't know what we're talking about, then you can go to search for the Kite Games or go to thekitegames.com. That's my little project this summer, and hopefully next summer as well, next year. But today's topic is what we think about the future of competitions, or actually competition formats. There have been some changes this year, of course, with COVID, and we talked a little bit about the distance battle in our first episode. But I feel like this is something that I wanted to discuss even deeper, because there's a lot of things happening and also changing. I listened to your podcast with, I think it was Ross Dillon Player, who said that big air kiting, and also Mike McDonald said that big air kiting is taking over. So I wanted to pick your brain a bit about that as well. So we have, looking at it, we have freestyle in different categories, twin tip and strapless, and also hydrofoil now. We have wave, racing, big air, and also the online competitions coming more and more as well. And not to forget the Olympics. There have been some talks about the Olympics. I think it is 2 or 3 Olympics now. So should we start with freestyle?
Sure. Don't forget you got winging now. They just the GK just had a winging competition the other day and put some had some prizes for that. And I believe winging freestyle will be a thing too in the future. But let's start with freestyle in general.
Is that can we include that in kite surfing? Because I feel that winging isn't really.
I don't know. I think it's more foiling, because I don't know if you heard the live stream when we're talking with Sam Medeski. He was saying, I've got kite surfing friends who wing, and I've got windsurfing friends who wing. They don't do each other, but the winging is a combination in the middle. So that's interesting to see. I don't know where that's going to sit yet. I don't think it even knows itself, but let's just put it in the foiling bracket, because foiling is kite surfing, winging, surf foiling, toe foiling. I think that's all going to be a new sport.
I feel a bit with winging that looking at kite surfing sort of came from surfers who wanted to not needing to paddle out all the time. So they could kite out and then they could surf the wave in, and then they can kite out and surf the wave in, right? I feel like winging is more like an addition to that. Maybe not entirely, of course, but it should be much more enjoyable to ride a wave holding the wing than having the kite. The kite will pull a little bit all the time, but the wing you can actually depower 100% and just have it, in your hand.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's not digress. Let's talk about freestyle competition, because otherwise I'll go down the rabbit hole on wings.
Exactly, and then we'll be 45-50 minute talk again.
Yeah, exactly.
I promise you it will be shorter this time. But looking at freestyle, I mean, twin tip freestyling is the big GKA, I would say, at this point. But looking at the future, what do you think about it?
Look, I think every sport needs like a world champion of something. Otherwise, it just becomes a hobby, right? So I do believe freestyle is important. Look, freestyle historically has had problems, name changes and competition changes and this and that. So it is riddled with problems. But for me, it has to stay. It has to stay because freestyle is a huge part of it. I know the freestyle world champion might not be such a big prize to the general public. People see the King of the Air and the Mega Loop. They look at those winners maybe in high regard. But within kite surfing, the freestyle world champion is still, is still a very sort of exclusive club, and still very prized to win. I look at it like F1 cars, right? So everyone can buy a car, but most cars have a racing team. In some cases, they have a Formula One team. Not everyone can be a Formula One champion, but that technology that they use will filter down into from the racing team to the kite to the cars. And it's similar to in kiting. I do believe that it would be a huge shame if a freestyle world champion or freestyle tour disappeared. I think the tour in general, with the concept and what they need to do on the tour, I think is great. There is some debate if you hear people talk about the way freestyle was before to the way it is now, where the kite used to be a lot lower before, now it's a lot higher. There's always going to be debates on that, but whether they should have a freestyle tour, absolutely. I think that has to be a must.
I agree with you, and I think that for us who really enjoys freestyle, we can definitely see the level of the freestyle riders. And I was actually thinking about if we go back a couple of years, when I wouldn't say I was started, but I was started doing freestyle more and more, unhooked and having boots, etc. And when Yuri Soon was like at the very top of his game, you could see that the level he had and a couple of guys, Alex Pastor, for example, they were just way beyond everyone else. But the guys now have taken it even further. So the real, my issue right now with twin tip freestyle is how long can they survive? I wouldn't say survive, but stay free from injuries. Because I don't want that format to be, something that you can do for a couple of years and then you can't basically ride anymore.
Look, there's always going to be outliers to that. Look at Aaron. He was way ahead of the curve. Then you had Yuri, and then it's changed again. Then you had Bebe, and now you've got this newer breed. That's always going to happen. But if you actually look at the gear of kite surfing, the gear's actually got less powerful. We've actually moved away from, what they were riding when Aaron was riding and those guys were riding back in, the early days. They were crazy. No depower and stuff like that. So the gear actually has got safer, which means the guys are actually pushing it even further. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more injuries. If you watch Aduri, how high he goes and how hard he lands, it's kind of crazy that he hasn't had any knee injuries. He's built like, he's a big guy, big solid legs. But I think didn't Dre one day say you've only got you can only hit so many kickers in your life. Your knees have only got so many kickers in them. So I think injuries will happen. Everyone's been injured. All those top guys. Bebe's coming back from injuries. Aaron got injured. Yuri blew both his knees out, but then went on to win world championships. So it does happen. It's part of the sport. I don't think we should ever cancel or turn stuff away due to the risk of injury, because that's just the sport in general.
No, exactly. No, I'm not saying due to injury, but looking at most other sports, you're from a rugby background, is that correct?
Yeah, sure.
How long can a rugby player be like playing at the top level?
Look, 20 to late 20s, really. Once you get for the forwards, they can play into their 30s, but really backs, the faster guys are, you've got like probably 8 years maximum. Sort of 21 to 29 is sort of your sort of window. The elite guys can go on, push into their 30s and do well, but generally you're sort of looking in the 20s, But there's a lot more contact. You're talking about huge physical contact. In kiteboarding, they're starting, they're 13 and 14 and 15-year-old world champions with girls, but you can't have that in rugby. It's different, right? Because the body composition, but it's a very short window, very, very, and it's probably like kiteboarding, really. The window of success in kiteboarding is probably about eight years, maybe.
Yeah, and that's what I was going for as well. Looking at soccer, which is like the biggest sport here, and having Zlatan as a Swedish player, etc. I mean, there's very few of the players that can be at the highest top level when they're 30 and above 30. And I'm just hoping that looking at how the twin tip freestyle is developing right now, that the riders can still perform and compete when they're late 20s.
If you actually look at the history of that, we actually tend to see freestyle guys, older freestyle guys, go into big air, and in certain areas they've gone into park riding. Aaron went to park riding. Christoph Tack went into park riding. Noé Font, guys who've done well in freestyle before have slipped into that park. Now park is sort of seen to be dying, but big air was the other option. So we do see guys. I mean, look at the winners of the King of the Air. They're all older guys, 30, 31, 29, There is something that shows that experience has come from years of being involved. Kevin Langer is a good example, who have, hardened competition experience in freestyle. The freestyle games got away from them and they transitioned into big air, which they can still do. Looks into your 30s.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, and I do think that I don't remember who. I think it was someone who talked to you, said that the experience for riding kite surfing quite a lot is a huge advantage when it comes to something like King of the Air. Yeah. And to continue looking at strapless freestyle, that's probably the freestyle the category that I've seen the most increase in the last year. And of course with
Ayrton,
exactly, pushing it really hard, being part of King of the Air, etc. Yeah. Do you think we will continue to see an increase in strapless freestyling?
Well, I think the explosion in strapless over the last 2 or 3 years has been amazing. But you know what? I'm sort of torn between having this so-called surf tour and having half of it wave and half of it strapless. And we've actually lost a lot of guys, Kiahi, Muna, Yalu. These guys have stopped actually riding the tour because they really want to ride waves. And there's a lot of guys out there like that. So I sort of kind of think that I'd like to see a pure dedicated wave tour and then a dedicated strapless tour. There's probably guys like Ayrton and Mitu and Matthew and that who could probably do both. But for strapless, it's not my cup of tea, but it's super impressive. But there is, I don't know. I just think that tour needs to be broken in half and have 2 different tours, because I think that if you have this amazing riders with, and let's say Kiahi and Yalu and Muna and that sort of company, it's kind of bad that the sport isn't tapping into some of its best riders still, because they don't want to. And by the way, this is just me saying that. I don't know if that's official, but I do know that some of them, they want to be more involved in just chasing waves, making content like Kiahi Diabortes did, and surfing the setups they want rather than doing strapless freestyle.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to have 2 different setups or 2 different tours as well, because just looking at the next one is hydrofoil freestyle, which is coming now, but it makes little sense to group different kind of ridings just because they have the same board. So I don't think that a hydrofoil racing guy would actually if there was a freestyle part of that tour stop as well.
Well, the funny thing about just before we get onto hydrofoil racing, remember, it's great to say, yeah, we want this tour, but there's no money to run tours. You know, that's the problem. We're talking about asking more than we can deliver. Now, you talk about hydrofoil freestyle. I still think that's going to be kite surfers who cross over. But when you go to hydrofoil, the racing side, they're more sailors. You know, I know that they're kite surfers, and I had that girl's been on the podcast before. Her name skips my brain. She's a Rolex. She's won the Rolex Sailor of the Year twice, which is a prestigious award in the US market. But I see them more as in that sailing group. You know, they're more accepted by the sailing community, and they're sponsored by the sailing community and stuff over what the GKA is doing. So I kind of see them as a little bit elitist, if that makes sense. You know, when they had the Olympics before, the original Junior Olympics that Aduri run was on a twin tip. It was like almost like a border cross, you know, where it was transitions, and you had to jump over something as well. And Aduri won that, but that style, I believe, won't be in the Olympics. I think they'll go to the foil.
Yeah, I think so too. I kind of like the border cross, and looking at snowboard and skis, etc. The border cross competition has increased. It's fun, and I mean, a lot of things. I mean, it happens a lot of things. People fall, and there are some outcomes that you couldn't expect, etc. But it's really hard when it comes to kite surfing to do the same thing.
But look, when you come to the Olympics, let's talk about the Olympics, right? The Olympics doesn't want to see smash and dash. That's not their mandate, right? The Olympics is smooth, classy racing. Yeah. You know, they don't want to. It's not the X Games. They don't want to see people crashing in and kites getting tangled and people getting frustrated. They want to see sportsmanship. You know, people who are the fastest, the best. So they look for a clean model, whatever it is. You know, if you look at all sports especially the big performing sports, they're clean, they're simple. There's not that sort of controversy. I don't think the Olympics wants controversy at all. And if you have like border cross type events where you've got, you know, 6 or 7 young guys coming into one turn, and I don't know if you've seen them, they come in and they jump the turn, they jump around the turn, which is kind of cool. Down loop the kite and jump, and then I think it could be too many problems.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I like that. They want a smooth event.
Yeah, and also I think, I mean, looking at border cross hasn't really taken off in terms of kite surfers doing it. So I think it's really hard to have have it in the Olympics. You
know, the funny thing about sailing events when you look at Olympics is it's always far from the event, right? There's something about being in the Olympic Village and being around the athletes and being in the stadium or in the outdoor stadiums. But, you know, if you look at most Olympic Games when it comes to the sailing event, it's 200 kilometers away. You know, they're in their own little event. They're doing their own thing. You're out at sea. Your dots on the horizon. You come in and they put up the scores. There's not really that Olympic sort of feel to it. Maybe, of course I'm wrong, you know. Of course it's great to win an Olympic sailing medal, but it'd be nice. There is something about being close to the action.
But maybe putting some kite surfers into that sailing area might do some good then.
Yeah, maybe they could create a man-made lake.
Yeah, something. But what do you talking about the Olympics? Do you think we will see kite surfing in the Olympics, and what?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely going in the Paris one, right? Is it Paris? 2026, is that correct? I don't know. 2026, I believe, Paris, which will be done in, I think it's going to be in Marseille, which again is 200 or 300 kilometers from the main event. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. I know that Gisela Polito is concentrating on it. I think the Bridge brothers are concentrating on that. So I think we will see some guys. I know a lot of those cabaret boys have been looking at it and starting to do more foiling. So I think we'll have noticeable names. I think we'll have more noticeable names get involved in that and try and win an Olympic medal. I think it would be cool to have an Olympic medal for kiteboarding. I think that's going to be unique, you know. So yeah, let's hope.
Do you think that will increase the interest of kite surfing as well? So we will see more people getting into.
I think yes, right? I think if you can get a superstar, if you think back to someone for example, like New Zealand has a rich sailing history, but there was like in 84, Bruce and Barbara Kendall, they were like two windsurfers, and they won a gold medal for New Zealand, won golds, maybe won golds at the time, but they did very well. Sailing took off, windsurfing took off. Another guy called Russell Coots won on one of the different classes, and sailing started to boom. It will boom on the back of success, right? If you are a smaller nation and you get a gold, like let's say if you're in the US, they're not going to care because they're going to take their lion's share of gold medals. But in the smaller countries, when you get a gold medal, like the Irish guys who got gold medals in rowing, I bet you Irish rowing started to take off because it's those smaller nations when they maybe get less than 10 golds, every gold is celebrated. You don't wake up in the morning, another 10 golds for the US, another 10 golds for Russia. Those get lost. But when the smaller nations get golds, I'm sure there will be a boom in kiteboarding in those markets. But then it comes down to the local markets taking advantage of that and getting in the schools and running classes as well,
Yeah, and I agree with you when it comes to smaller nations. I'm from one of them. We have, of course, seen an increase of interest when we have someone a really big name winning. Yep. It could be tennis or table tennis or something like that, where we have been historically successful. So I do think that the interest will increase with kitesurfing in the Olympics as well. Interesting to see how, because usually in the Olympics there's a lot of rules in terms of the material and everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going. But
I believe they have chosen a style of foil, right? I mean, I didn't really. Something I'd need to read up more about,
But that can change. I mean, if it's 2026, it's 6 years. And looking at, 6 years ago, you haven't seen a file.
What year is it? Maybe it's 2024. It can't be 6 years because the Olympics are supposed to be this year, right? So it must be 2020.
Yeah, but
so
still
it's
4 years. Still 4 years. It's a long time. A lot of things can happen. I think that's what happened the last time, because last time I heard it was the racing part that were up for the Olympics, but that was with the old racing boards, and I haven't seen a board like that in.
Nah, they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, interesting to see what happens. Yeah,
the directional boards with the big fins on them, right? Those things are gone.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All right, should we jump into what at least I believe is the really big thing? That's the big air, different kind of big air. We're talking about, of course, the King of the Air, which we all love and see, and the Mega Loop Challenge, Mega Loop Challenge is called, right? Still. Also, I listened to your pod with Ross Dillon Player. He thinks that the big air is going to boom even more, and he actually liked the Mega Loop format more than the King of the Air. Yeah. What are your thoughts about how big air will change in the future?
Well, I know exactly why Ross likes the Mega Loop Challenge, because it is, you just need one big trick at a time to go through, and a lot of those guys who are the bigger riders, they just, that's their format, right? The Josh Emanuels and that, where the Red Bull King of the Air is a lot more technical, a lot more freestyle mixed into the big air, which a lot of those Cape Town big air riders don't do. They haven't come from freestyle backgrounds. They've come from just big air backgrounds. So I always joke, when's the South African going to win the King of the Air? Because at the moment there doesn't look like there's anyone coming on to do that because of that sort of freestyle background that seems to be needed. I think I say those two are the two majors, and I don't think they need to be changed. I think they're accepted. They're great. People love them. The crowds love them. The viewer stats on the TV on YouTube love them. But there definitely needs to be a second tier of events running under that. I don't know what that is. I was hoping those fly-to events were going to become something, but it looks like they've died. Nick's got his cold Hawaii games next month, so that should be interesting. I'm going to talk to Nick tomorrow about that. But
again, I'm actually going to be there. So I'm hoping that maybe we can have a short interview or maybe a podcast from there.
Yeah. I've seen guys starting to put stuff on, but there's nothing on the website. So I hope, it's only 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
I need to talk to him about that. I know that Mike McDonald's put an online big air event up. So there is definitely people getting involved and starting to create more content, because I think to most people, when they see big air, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be impressed.
Yeah. I think that when I listened to Ross Dillon Player, and he said that he liked the format of the Mega Loop Challenge better, I got the feeling also that it was a little bit because of, they're being flown in when it's the right kind of wind. And it has to be like really nuking. But looking at the air, they can run the King of the Air with I'm not sure exactly how many knots, but let's say 30 knots or something. I've seen that they have started running the competition, and to be honest, it's not that extreme to ride in those kind of winds compared to what we have.
But it's easy to say that, but if you see what they're doing in 30 knots, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
That's the thing, Yeah. That's the thing. I agree. I know Ross definitely likes 45 plus knots, because if I would wonder, would the event look any different in 45, 50 knots in Cape Town? I still think you'd see the same tricks coming through. I don't know. Because remember, to score in Cape Town, to score in the King of the Air, you need to score 3 tricks plus 2 or 3 tricks plus an impression score, right? Where the Mega Loop, the format is just one big trick goes through. We saw that with Liam. Liam popped his kite. He came out 2 minutes to go in the heat. Did was a late back roll or something. Got the score. Went through to the next round. So he wasn't even on the water for the whole time. So there is something about that. But definitely those bigger boys. This hardened high wind guys love the bigger winds,
I agree, but I would prefer to have King of the Air being run in stronger winds as well, because I do think that being able to pull a mega loop in 40 knots takes a lot more than doing it in 30 knots, and I think that will be that will put something else on that event as well. But
it'd be interesting. Just a mega loop doesn't even score right at King of the Air. It barely scores. But if you do a massive mega loop at the Mega Loop Challenge, you can win with that. You can win with a single mega loop there, as long as it's huge. So it would be interesting to see. The whole scoring systems are different as well. So that potentially you're putting riders in a position where they could get injured, right? Because the scoring says, hey, we're looking at rotations and board offs and many different types of things at the King of the Air. So it would be interesting to see. But definitely those two events don't need to change. I'd love to see a longer weather window in Cape Town, but mate, that's comes down to budget. The beach there. It's a lot of money to run that event. It's a lot of money to run the live stream, and I think they last year did a fantastic job with what they had. And I think if we can get events like we had last year every year, people won't be moaning about the wind.
I do. I love the King of the Air. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying that I would love to see a solution where you can run it in even stronger winds, or more constant strong winds. I would say. And also you touched on it before, but Mike McDonald has named his Big Air Kite League, that you can actually, anyone who wanted to run a big air event can actually contact, go into bigairkite.com. Is that the address, I think? And you can also download and run your own event, of course, as well. Do you think we will see a big air tour in the future?
In the future, maybe. But I think what Mike's doing by having the bigairkite.com as an open source where, you can just download all the charts and the times and the scoring, I think it's a great way to start. Will we see it in the future? I don't know. That's $1 million question, man. I hope so, man. I really do. I think it's really what we're missing. But I hope so too. I just want to see a good freestyle tour run. As long as they do all tours well, I'm happy. What I don't like is tours done badly. You know, it's like if you say you're going to do it, you do it. That's why I run that. So if we did a freestyle tour, a strapless tour, a big air tour. See, now I'm asking a lot, right? See, now what in an ideal world, I'm asking a lot. That's the problem.
Mm. And I do think that the problem with running a big air tour is that the winds aren't really there in many places. I mean, it's hard to get the right kind of winds to actually have a competition worthy of being a big air competition. And we have been trying to do that several times here in Sweden. And of course, Sweden isn't the best, I know, for running big air competitions. But when we have had the right winds, it's amazing. And we actually had a freestyle tour and the freestyle part, people didn't really watch, but then we had a big air competition afterwards and people were stoked about it. So I do think that it's something that I would like to see for sure, but it's a bit harder to.
I'd like to see more events where it was just get more people involved into big air and basically say, listen, this is a go out there and jump as high as you can, get some woos and put on the board, no kite loops, and get more people in that level down interested in doing competition, because it doesn't matter then. You know, you go out there, you ride, everyone tries to jump as high as you can. We're going to say, we're going to go off the woos, guys. The top skills we're going through. You put 4 woos out there and just let the guys go and just say, look, no loops, just big air. You can go left to right. I think smaller events held in community spots like that would be awesome too.
Mm. And then we can go into a little bit about the online stuff, because I could definitely see a future where we have multiple big air Woo or any other device supported competition where it's a live scoring and you can actually post it and you can run it anywhere in the world, and you don't have to have a lot of administration and stuff around it, and just then collect all the scores on a specific site, and you can actually compete against people all over the world. That would be amazing, I think, to see.
Let's see how the GK distance battle goes first before we start talking about online competitions. I want to see if this is a success. But look, whatever happens, when anything to do with online, there's always going to be someone say it's unfair.
I know.
Yeah. And that's what we're speculating. We haven't seen it officially yet, but let's see. I mean, I know I sound like a bit of a naysayer over the GK distance battle, but I want to see and say, hey, that's a worthy winner. Are the riders going out there and are they putting the work in to get their best scores? I spoke to Camille Delannoy. He's up against Ayrton. He's trying really hard to get good things to go through. But I have heard other guys are just like, I'm just going to put some stuff in. They don't really care about it, so.
The thing is, we actually got one of our questions answered in your talk with Camille, and that was how they would score the different heats with just one video entry. But that he actually told you that he's going to send in 3 edits, and he has to decide to begin with which one goes to which heat. So he's up against Ayrton to start with. So it's really interesting to see if he will post this absolute most, the biggest one there.
I think he has to. I think he has to start out with a triple, which is his signature move, and go for it, because surely Ayrton's going to throw the 3-1-3 in there. That's going to be the big one. So, yeah, let's see. It's going to be tough. I think, as I said before, I think anything online, the pressure's not on the riders anymore. The pressure comes to the judging, and for the judges to get it right. I think that's the key.
Yeah, and of course, this year is probably the year for online competitions with the COVID situation. We have the GK distance battle. I have my own, the Kite Games, which people enjoy, and I think that's the most interesting thing.
Is the Kite Games going to be seasonal? When is the cutoff date that season 1 finishes?
We are actually. I wanted to have a fixed date to end now. The thing is that looking at the southern hemisphere, they're just starting to get to hear about the Kite Games. So I'm thinking that we will actually run the Kite Games. You have to send in your contribution mid-October. So I've said September before, but I'm actually postponing it to mid-October. And if unless we get more teams from the Southern Hemisphere, then we can do a separate competition for them. But otherwise, that will be mid of October, and then in end of October we will pronounce winners, of course. So that's the plan.
Maybe you could have a 3-month window. Once they sign up, they've got 3 months to get all their scores in, and at the end of the year, the scores are added up. You know, so you got 3 months. You got a 3-month window, 3-month calendar window to get everything done.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't want to keep the teams that have sent in their contribution to wait too long to see the results and hear the results. Yeah, so that's why I want to tell. So,
I understand.
But also looking at I saw now the Big Air Kite League video competition. I haven't read up about it, but as far as I understand, anyone can participate with as many contributions as you want, and then they will. I don't know what people will actually win. There was some prizes there as well.
I think Ride Engine and Liwa for sure, and some coaching with Mike and stuff like that. So there is definitely a bunch of cool prizes. But Ross was saying he's going to put a video in, so I hope some pros do put videos in and get involved in that as well. You know. Yeah,
I'm hoping to get some nuking win here with the autumn coming in Sweden as well, and trying some new kites and send something in myself. I won't win, but I mean, I just think it's fun to participate, and that's what I'm hoping with the online stuff. It doesn't have to be the pros. But as long as people can participate, that want to participate and continue to progress and push themselves, and giving something else to the community to enjoy and see, and also maybe get them to push themselves and contribute as well. Then I'm happy about that. But that's a different kind of competition, I would say.
Yep.
Adrian, I think we have to wrap it up here.
Do we stay to 20 minutes?
No, we didn't. But always nice chatting with you. Looking forward to the next episode already. Until then, keep pushing those podcasts and working on the Whaleys. Nice to see your new set there. And talk to you soon.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Bye.